Even though we're building it freestanding, we're still going to attach it. Now, because it's not holding right, on the house, that's not where any of the weight's being supported. Hypothetically, we could just nail that in, right? Because it's for sway. It's not actually structurally holding anything. It's not going to do any of that for you, but we're never going to do that to you. We're going to nail that barge board in just like it is going into a house, just like it's supporting your deck. We're going to make sure that we are staying in the codes, and we're going to make sure we're staying in the requirements. This is what a lot of people are going to use for that application. One of these small, thin screws, okay? Or they're just going to nail it in with a nail gun. Go right down and drive it in. What we're going to use is this. This is called a ledger lock. This is a higher shear strength than a 1/2-inch steel bolt. So, whenever we talk about installing those, you need 1-2 inches inside, roughly 8 to 10 inches, every 8 to 10 inches. Those bolts are designed specifically to prevent any shearing or any failure of those components. Now, again, just like every other part we've talked about here, the reason that people prefer to nail them in is because it's a heck of a lot cheaper. But right now, we're not talking about money, right? You said that. We're talking about your family safety, and that's the most important thing to you, I'm sure. Now, after we rip your siding off, what we're going to do is we're going to put ice and water shield underneath that. It's the same thing you would find on a roof. Then we're going to put your board over top of that. After we put the board on, we're going to ledger lock it. After we do that, we're going to put channel on top of that. That channel is going to prevent any water from getting back behind the house. And God forbid any water does get back there, it won't matter because it's going to hit that ice and water shield anyway. None of that's required. It's something that we do because we think it's important to protect the stability of your home. I'm sure that's important to you, correct? Would you accept anything less than that, someone actually going in and protecting the underlayment on your house? I would expect not. I wouldn't accept it either. Finally, we're going to go through and we're going to, every attachment that's a board, we're going to nail in a W and a V pattern. We're going to go every single attachment, every 8 to 10 inches, we're going to get a galvanized 3-inch nail, and we're going to go through and we're going to pop it, and we're going to hit everything. What do you think?
Added strength.
Added strength. Added strength, added stability. We also don't want any bugs to get in there. All of this wood is treated, yes. Additionally, every time we cut the wood, we're going to use a sealant. I can tell you right now, I don't know anybody else that uses a sealant on cut wood. And it's something that should be done every single time you make a cut outside of an exterior rated wood. So were you even aware of the fact that you had to do that?
No.
Absolutely, because that treatment's on the outside, so that has to be done. We don't want to leave the gaps because what happens is you get mud wasp in there, and you're supposed to be enjoying this area with your family, right? It's not going to be a very good time if you got a bunch of wasp nests underneath your deck. That's probably going to be an issue for you. So, we're also going to talk about your fastening system. So now we've built your deck, right? We went from the ground up. We've gone all the way to the top. We built your frame. Everything's looking right. We got to get your boards on there. So, this is what most people are going to use to connect your boards to your deck. This is a thin, flimsy plastic piece. That's what's holding your boards down. We talked about the shape earlier of your notch, right? It's circular. I want you to pass that down. Take a look at that. That's what companies are using to hold your deck in place, your deck boards. What we're going to use is this 302 stainless steel fastener. Now there is two major advantages to this.
Where does this go, Barry?
I'm sorry?
That holds the deck in
That
place.
holds
Does that go in between the
Yep.
two butted together?
Yep.
Well, where's the screw in then?
There's one screw right there. It's an angled piece. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So it goes in an angle.
Yeah. It's very wonky and very,
You see that head? You
Yeah.
see that?
yeah, that trim head. Yeah.
Is that the one that says Trex?
Yeah, that's the Trex piece right there. I don't say it out loud, but I just
Let
let
'em look at it.
Yeah, I let them read it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, instead of using that piece of plastic, we're going to use this 302 stainless steel fastener. The reason we're going to use this is for two reasons. Number one, to get an eligible warranty for this product, you are required to use this. Number two, what's going to be stronger, 302 stainless steel or that cheap piece of plastic?
steel.
Every single time. So I want you to pass this down and take a look at it. One of the other advantages are, we talked about how we're going to have to take our time with building your frame, right? And how important it is that we don't rush the job, we take it easy, we make sure that we're lining everything up right. This is where we have a major advantage once we get the frame up. We can actually shoot these in with a TCG gun. So it's a much quicker process. So now that your frame's built, the boarding is actually faster than it would be with traditional materials, and you're using a stainless steel piece to hold the deck board down.
There's no tongue and groove here, right?
No, it's all clip.
That groove that's in the side.
Yeah, that's how they go.
Yeah, they clip in like that.
A tongue and groove is a male and a female.
Yeah.
And this is just all female.
Yeah, it's all female with a male clip.
Okay.
So what we want to make sure we understand is that one's stainless steel and one's plastic. Which would you rather have holding your family's decking down? Stainless steel. Why do you think it is, Mr. Customer, that you have plastic fasteners out there?
Cheaper.
They're cheaper. It's going to cost a ton less money. Which would you rather have holding down your decking?
Steel.
Stainless steel. Every day of the week, without question.
Wait a minute. How much is this going to cost?
That's a great question.
How often do you put them in, by the way? Every foot or something? 2 foot?
Every 16 inches on center. So, how much is this going to cost? You mean how much is your investment worth? So, outside of that, we're going to talk about our posts now that we have our boards down. All of your posts are going to be attached the exact same way that we attached our beam. Yes, there are people that will screw those posts into place. We're not going to do that. We're going to use that same 1/2 inch bolt. We're going to run that through your 4x4s. They're going to come up to 40 inches or 38 inches depending on the application. The reason we're going to do that is you're required to have a rail height of 36 inches for your family safety. A lot of times people cut those posts at 36 inches. Now you have a 32 or a 34 inch rail height. It's not the code, and frankly, it's not safe for you guys, okay? Additionally, whenever we pour your concrete, we're going to make sure that we attach it at the base by building a wider and deeper pattern. We're only required by code to put what's called a pancake footer or a paver at the bottom of steps. We're actually going to pour a pad at the bottom of each staircase. That's going to make sure you're not going to have a lot of movement. I can tell you myself, and he knows this is actually true, there was not one at the bottom of the steps at my house, and the steps twisted, and I blew out my ACL. So believe me when I tell you, it is a very real thing, and it's something that should probably be mandated and required, but unfortunately, as of now, it is not. So additionally, your stairs and your risers have to be hand cut. We don't like to buy our stairs or our risers from Home Depot. Nothing against Home Depot, they're a fine company, they employ a lot of people, and that's fantastic. But the type of materials and the quality of materials we're looking for, you're just not going to find there. When they cut their treads, they're always off a little bit. What do you think the issue is when your tread height's off?
Your rise might be off.
Your rise is going to be off. Your rise and run are going to be off. Immediately, what you start to see is more bowing, more bouncing. Additionally, most people are going to use 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to use 4. The reason we're going to use 4 is it's going to prevent all that bouncing. A lot of people like to cut, leave it open. No open treads. We do not want any open rises on your deck. You don't want to have your kid, yourself, your wife, your family, whatever, slip under there. I'm sure the last thing you need is one of your in-laws twisting their ankle under an open tread on your deck. We'll never hear the end of it, right? So whenever we're going through all this stuff, we want to finish, we want to talk about what? The deck rail. It's the last thing we haven't done. Most people go with a white vinyl rail. So whenever we talk about our white vinyl rail, we're going to use this. This is a non-plasticized plastic or vinyl.
Before you get there, right? Before you get there, so
Yes.
once your deck's done and all this bamboo's on, when you're looking at the deck from the top, you only see bamboo everywhere.
We're almost there.
Okay.
But that's a great question, sir. I'm glad you asked that question. So,
What are the stairs made out of? Made out of the same.
yeah,
piece?
yeah, we'll do all the boards out of that. We'll probably use an AZEK trim board if you guys want to upsell that, but that's up to you guys. So,
One on the
So
sides.
the treads, so the treads will be this, or treads will be something different.
the treads will be that, but I'm
Yeah,
talking
the
about
treads
the
will be
fascia
Yeah.
can-
The backs.
for the.
You said the backs of the steps are.
Yeah,
all
the rise is going to be the same thing. Exactly.
I like it just wrapped with coil. That looks good.
Stop it.
No, the sides.
On the sides?
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks good.
It's all good.
Cheap.
It's all good. Cheap. Cheap.
So what you on the sides you just do AZAC?
Yeah, and it's up to them. I usually double up the boards, but if they want to do AZEKs, if they want to do something else, upcharge them. You know what I mean? It does look nice when you see the white, you know, the color material, then the white, it adds a nice kind of looking pattern to it. It certainly makes it look clean and neat. But, you know, AZEK boards aren't cheap. So neither are the attachment screws that go with it. So,
The
decorative.
ears that you're talking about is the skirt and going around then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a white
So
circle.
you can double up this decking to
Yeah.
go around that.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do a 10-inch face board.
They have this in
Yeah,
the 10H.
yeah, and they also have a flex board. It's a much thinner board, but it can be used for wrapping. So if you have a circular cutout, we can do it. I really highly recommend you guys don't do that. They're always problematic when you start dealing with circular bump outs and stuff like that. Make everything in squares. All right, because no matter what material you use,
Mine today.
right?
That's not circular. Oh, okay.
So the normal price would be treated wood.
I'm sorry.
The normal price would be on treated wood.
The normal price that we looked at is going to be the face boards. I'm going to double up your face boards.
Okay.
So, and that'll look sharp. But again, if they want that added pop, then we'll give them that with the white face board. Anyway, look, we all know what non-plasticized vinyl is in here, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to beat that to death.
Yeah.
One thing I am going to tell you though is all of these companies send cheap aluminum screws. We're not going to use those. Those screws have a tendency to fail over time. They have a tendency to warp. Anyone that's ever actually put in a rail in their entire life can tell you that. They're terrible. So we're actually going to use a stainless steel screw instead. Again, it's going to cost more because it's not a cheap aluminum screw, but it's going to hold better and it's going to last longer. Now, we talked a little bit about some of the other attachments. We talked a little bit about the gun system. Now we're going to talk about the thing that you want to talk about. How are we going to hide all the screws and all the fasteners? The goal is always to have as few seams and as few screws visible as possible, right? So if you do decide to go with the AZEK Faceboard, which is great, we're going to use this Cortex system. And what the Cortex system does is it enables us to drive this screw into the Faceboard and then to plug it behind with this white piece here. And what that's going to do for you is going to give you a virtually seamless deck where you're almost going to see zero holes or zero penetration. Now, we're also going to bullseye shoot things in. What a bullseye shot is, if you have a joist that needs to be adjusted, if you have a board that's not on the right angle, it's a special tool that comes in at a 45-degree angle and allows us to pierce it from the side and tie that board down. We're going to use these trim head screws here. One thing I want you to notice with both the screws that we're going to use compared to what other people use.
They're expensive. I know they.
These are very expensive. This is what most people are going to use out there. This is what you're going to find. You're going to find a green screw like this, star head. It's an okay screw. It's going to have a singular thread on the bottom, and this is how they're going to drive your boards in. Now, specifically with Trex, you're going to see a lot of these. They pop down because of all the swelling and all the movement. But what happens as soon as you drive this screw into that Trex board?
It
What's
splits
the
it.
warranty?
Warranty is gone, and what else?
You're allowing a place for water to get in.
Now you've given an additional place for water to get in. So now you've ruined your board, and you've done that. So it's guaranteed to swell. I hate to say it, you can even go over to Harrisburg Senator Stadium. You can see it everywhere. It's swelled and popping all over the place from the same problem. So take a look at this screw. And then I'm going to pass around these two. This is our trim head screw. This is the one we're going to use where we absolutely have to put one in the top in a visible area, like your step treads that you were talking about. Obviously, we can't shoot the outside ones in, so we're going to have to do something with them. We're going to come top down with this little screw here. Now, what I want you to notice is that while most people use that, we're going to use these for those applications. You're going to see that this is two separate threadings on it. There's one here that's a fine thread, and there's a coarser thread on the top that's a completely different thread. You're going to see the same thing on here. So take a look at those two.
The head's smaller on the one, so it's less visible.
So why do you think it is that we're going to prefer to use those screws over the other ones? You're a smart consumer.
I guess the hole's gonna be smaller.
It's not that. It's because
Better grip.
once we drill it through, we're going to hit wood, right? But now that we've drilled through the deck board at that point, we won't have any grip, right, if we keep driving down. So by changing the thread, you're actually changing the grip. So now the grip will grab the composite board as well. Whereas if you only have one thread with a flat top on it, it's not going to grip anything, and you're going to get a lot of movement on the deck boards. Again, people don't like using those. They're very expensive. But they should be expensive because you don't want your steps in particular moving. Same thing with your faceboards. When we have to go and attach your faceboards, we're going to use a combination of those screws. We're going to do the best we can to make them as minimally visible as possible, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're attached and attached properly. Correct? Okay. So, now that we've kind of gone through all of those parts and features, what part of that system, makes the most sense to you, and what part do you have the questions about?